as Amanda mentioned, my name is Viraj Gandhi. I'm the CEO of Paradyme Management. I founded the company 15 years ago. I was 23 when I founded the company, and my definition of entrepreneurship at 23 was how much money can I make? And being the CEO of one, I don't know why, but I was very, very high on myself for being this chief executive officer of me. So let me tell you what Paradyme does, and then I can launch into how we got to where we are. So we're a data management company. So really, really simply, we all have data, right? What our expenses are every month, what we spend every month, and we use that data to make better decisions, right? Like, hey, how much am I going to save? How am I going to put my kids through college? How am I going to buy this new car? So our firm, we work for the federal government, and we're a data management firm. So everything from data analytics, helping our stakeholders, CIOs, and executive directors of agencies figure out how to get information to them so that they can make better decisions, how to connect old systems so that payroll and finance and accounting are connected so that information can flow from one place to the next so that people can make decisions. We also do software development, which I'll get into some of the projects that we have. So early on when I started the company, I was with a larger management consulting firm called Keen, and Keen was great. They treated me like family up until they didn't, right? And when I started to become a number, I was really bothered at the fact that I don't want to just be a number, and I can probably do this better on my own. Now this is me, the CEO of one, talking, but I had good relationships, right? So I started at the DC government, and what I did differently than most people was I understood what I was doing. There were a lot of people there that were like, oh, let me just go out to the street and grab a couple bodies. I didn't do that. Although I said yes to everything that people threw at me, I really understood what the customer wanted. And I think that's really the difference, I think, and that's why we're still around 15 years later. It's, I think any business, especially a services business, you have to be customer centric and you have to know and understand what the customer wants. So the initial years that I had Paradyme, it was really just me running around, trying to figure out what we were actually good at. Obviously, selling management consulting services as a 23-year-old does not get you very far. People look at me and say, well, what the hell do you know? And the answer was, yeah, you're right, I don't. But what I do know is I understand your mission, and I understand what I've been doing to get to forward that mission. So with the people that I bring on, they're going to help do the same. So, fast forward, so 2003 is when I founded the firm. From 2003 to 2006, I worked hard, and I worked to gain the trust of people at the DC government. So the office of the chief, yes?
Rod, do you concentrate on government contracts?
Yep.
Or private sector, or both?
Federal government.
Okay.
We are 100% federal government. So I started with doing local and state government. So the initial years was really just me trying to figure out what we did well and what we didn't do well. And by the time we got to 2006, I think that business maturity is a couple things, right? It's the ability to say no. So the things that we do not do well, I'm not going to do. I'm not going to try to do. I'm not going to try to find out how to do it. I'm just going to say no. And then making payroll. So being able to make payroll on a monthly basis, I think when you're able to do that, you have achieved some level of maturity. So 2006, we were in about 30 agencies at the DC government, small, still sub $1 million, but we were doing the things that we did well, which was understanding what our clients wanted. So if our clients wanted to build something from a software development standpoint, I found a software developer that understood how to build a website or a back-end gateway or whatever that may be. So that, I pride myself on that because that still exists in how we're successful today, which I'll get to. We started to say, well, let's start to do some commercial work back then. So in 2007, we landed a customer by the name of Visteon. So Visteon made auto parts for Ford. So the dashboards, the side pieces of the door, and we, as a 8-person company, were doing the data integration services for this Fortune 1000 company that was an auto part maker in Michigan. Life was grand. We broke $1 million. We had hired like 12 or 13 people as subcontractors. Our monthly billings was up over $150,000, which was like huge, right? And here we are, this 8-person shop that Visteon, I don't know if they thought we were a lot bigger or what, but they trusted us, and we delivered for them. In 2009, they filed for bankruptcy, and 45 days was how long it took them to pay us initially, and then it went to 60, and then it went to 90. So now, mind you, we're a $1.3 million company. We have this agreement with our subcontractors that we'll pay you once we get paid. And a lot of folks work like that because, you know, we're a small company. We can't float, you know, their pay rates. So when that happened, we were owed $850,000. I think I had like $200,000 in the bank. And we, obviously we're gonna take that as a loss, but we had contractors. We had 13 or 14 contractors that we owed a fair amount of money to because it had been a backlog of multiple months. And we could have just walked away and said, you know what, we're not getting paid, so we're not gonna pay you. And the chapter, so I give some entrepreneurship talks, and I call this chapter Karma. So my business partner and I sat down and we said, the right thing to do is to pay them. Now, mind you, to take and write checks that equaled more than probably $500,000 was really, really difficult, but we did. It was really, really tough. So my business partner and I did not take a salary for 3 years. So now you're in, like, we're in 2011 before we actually started paying ourselves. And that's the biggest obstacle I think I've ever faced. Right? But we did. We kind of scaled back and we said, well, what are the things that we can do? Let's get back to basics. We went back to the DC government. We tried to figure out where we could work. We gained a couple clients from that. We repaid our debts. And then, you know, in 2011 and 12, we were kind of back to at least somewhat in the black. We were paying ourselves a little bit of money. So that's really, you know, that was, I guess, the formative years of Paradyme. A real big paradigm shift came in 2013. So I was lucky enough to get accepted into the Harvard Business School's OPM program, and that's the Owners and Presidents Management Program. And we basically broke down what it is to have a strategy, right? Like what it is to have a strategy and a mission and a vision. And this was kind of the theme across the 3 years that I was there. And it's simple, right? You guys may think that, oh yeah, creating a strategy is very, very easy and simple. There are Fortune 50 companies that have a strategy that aren't able to execute it, which drops them off the Fortune 50 list. But for us, we never had that strategy. We just kind of went where the money was. And what we started to do is really figure out what our vision, our mission, and our core values were. And from a visioning standpoint, we wanted to be the #1 company of systems and integration services. But how do we do that, right? So it gets back to what I talked about at the very beginning, which is mission-oriented. Everything that we do now is very mission-oriented. We do not sign up with a customer or an agency unless we can build a trusted partnership with them where we are looked at as a trusted partner. If you know, agency X came to us and said, hey, you know, will you guys do a little bit of work? It's 10 bodies, it's a couple $100,000 a year, we'll say no. Because the goal is not to just provide bodies, the goal is to be a mission-focused firm. So out of those 3 years, you know, when I started in 2013 at Harvard Business School, we had 25 people. And I was telling Amanda, I think when I started talking here in 2016, we had probably 40 or 50 employees. We're 225 employees now. And the last 3 years, we've grown about 200%. And I only say this not because I'm trying to tout my success. What I'm trying to get at is it's the reason that we exist is the people, right? I mean, we are a services firm. We do not sell widgets. We do not sell things. We sell services of people, and connecting the people that we have with the mission of an agency is what gets us to where we are. So I want to talk a little bit about the types of work, the type of work that we do. So let's talk about the State Department, right? The State Department has foreign service both nationally and internationally. After Benghazi, they figured out that they knew Viraj Gandhi was working at the embassy in Benghazi, but I have a family. There was no trace of that family in an HR system. So they wanted to overhaul the personnel system of all foreign service that worked abroad. So we won that contract alone, no Accenture, no Deloitte, no big company behind us, and we developed the new personnel system for all foreign service folks and their families that lived abroad. So now, when I would be in the system, it would be myself, my wife, my 2 kids, and it would have our information. We just finished the development of that in September, and we just won the deployment contract to deploy that in 165 countries. So now when you think about mission focus, I mean, this is a very, very visible type of contract, right? So the piece that we love about it is not so much that it's visible, because if we fail, then everybody's going to know that we failed, but the fact that we are helping the State Department forward their mission, right? That's essentially what we're doing. At the Census Bureau, the census is like a giant, a sleeping giant, right? It wakes up every 5 years to spend $4 billion on the decennial. So 2020 is our next decennial, and we do all of the enterprise architecture and data management for the Census Bureau for 2020. So you figure there are all these legacy applications that need to talk to one another. We've architected how those applications will talk to one another. We've also, all the data that's going to come in through the internet, it's going to come through a system that we've deployed, and we're, the analytics of it and how it gets kind of given to the stakeholders of the Census Bureau, we manage that right now. All the testing of all the new systems that they want to spin up, we manage that. All the tool development, so configuration management and the things that they use to help them, like integration testing and penetration testing, we develop that. So when you look at that project and the mission of the Census Bureau, we are right there helping the Census Bureau achieve their goal for 2020. A note about the Census Bureau, we started there with 3 people. They had a problem. We were an Oracle partner. We went in, we sent our best people in, which is not always fun. We lost a lot of money because they didn't want to pay for 2 of them, but we sent 3 people in, and today we have 130 people. And that is through the perseverance and just being there with the customer. So my business partner, he gets calls at 7 o'clock in the morning from the client saying, hey, I'm worried about X, Y, and Z. And Eddie's response is, Kathy, where do you want to meet? I'll meet you for breakfast and let's talk about it. So that's the level of, personally, and why Paradyme, I think, has been successful, is that's the level of client-customer relationships that we have. We really go above and beyond. And I think, when we look at where we want to be in the next 3 years, our goal by 2021 is to be at 100 million. And I think we can get there, and it's very, very focused on the fact that we are mission-focused and mission-oriented. We have started to do a lot of cleared work, the Department of Defense and law enforcement, and the issue that we are seeing with a lot of government contractors are everybody's hitting the same pool, right? So there's 51,000 government contractor companies, or maybe a little bit more or less, depending on the year. Everybody's going to the same pool of people. We have been successful with kind of doing some stuff outside of the box. So as agencies have focused on teleworking, we've gone to California and Kalamazoo, Michigan, and hired people there and said, hey, you can stay in your home and you can do really cool work. So we've kind of started thinking outside the box. One of the things I was telling these guys when I walked in here was, part of our approach is we want to hire vets. We want to hire folks from bases that are coming off or rolling off of engagements and duty, because there's clearances involved. I think for the most part, those that do have a technical background have deployed that in the military. That's all stuff that we can absolutely use. I would love to talk to anybody that's interested in information technology. We also pay for training, so there's that aspect of it. So yes, we are hiring. Would love to talk to anybody that's interested.